Hey everyone, my name is Derek, author and webmaster of Gematrynator.com. Before I get into the topic of this video, I'd just like to address this strike that YouTube gave my channel over the weekend. As you may know, I made a video on Thursday night accusing the Masonic World Order of perpetrating and possibly even hoaxing the vehicle ramming attack in Barcelona, Spain. The video, in which I revealed the numerology behind the attack, through date durations, gematria, and astrology, was removed from YouTube for violating its community guidelines. What exactly was I guilty of? Bullying and harassment, according to their notification. Seriously, bullying and harassment. I'm linking the video that was deleted in the description down below so you can see for yourself who I might have bullied. I've since uploaded this video to vid.me. I want to point out, I tried to appeal this strike. I clicked this little link where it says, please submit this form, and all it did was give me this picture. The only difference is these two paragraphs under video content restrictions were transposed. See how they did that? They just switched it up. I couldn't actually appeal this strike. For those of you who may be new to my work and the work of others also in this study, we have discovered the favorite numbers of the psychopaths currently running world government and show you on a regular basis how they are scripted into fake news and other contrived events. Much of this decoding occurs in gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. And if you think I, or any of us for that matter, are crazy for coming up with this, consider how our voices are being suppressed on platforms such as YouTube, and ask yourself if it makes any sense for someone like me who has never advocated violence and didn't even utter a single cuss word in my video to get squashed for simply sharing numbers, sharing mathematical facts, and asking you to decide for yourself if these are really just random occurrences. Because as I've been stating this whole time, they're not. They almost never are. This is simply how the deep state operates their views. Anyway, I went ahead and paid a visit to Marion, Illinois yesterday for the great solar eclipse to help take my mind off the madness our world is operating under for a day. I truly hope those of you watching got the chance to view this phenomenon, hopefully with a better camera than I have. It was a tremendous experience I'll never forget, and if you haven't already begun thinking about seeing the next eclipse in 2024, I assure all of you who aren't spiritually devoid, you will not regret it. A lot of people shared similar stories about my experience with the eclipse, but as is the case with the terrorists who run our governments, no positive, uplifting event can occur without it somehow being twisted into a negative. And that's what's happened with this heavily coded story out of a town called Hyden, Kentucky, where a car is said to have crossed the center line next to the primary care center and hit a pair of pedestrians who were watching the eclipse, killing one of them before somehow flipping over on its side, facing the opposite direction. Here's the picture from one of these articles, and here is the Google Earth view showing this same scene. You'll see this car came off of 80, I guess, crossed the center line, somehow flipped over and turned and landed right around this spot here. So, I'm just going to read through this article and decode it as I go. And as you'll see, something incredibly fishy is up with our news. So authorities say two women watching the eclipse while standing on a sidewalk in Kentucky were struck by a car, one of them dying. State Police Trooper Jody Sims says the car crossed the center line and hit a utility pole and struck the pedestrians about 120 miles or 190 kilometers southeast of Lexington. First of all, let's look at this name, Jody Sims. It has reduced gematria of 33, just like police, 33, and just like the word eclipse. But also note the 48 in reverse reduction. This is the gematria of Freemason, 48, not only in reverse reduction, but also in Hebrew gematria, as seen here, Mem Samek Vav Nun, 48 Hebrew ordinal. Also, this is a report about the death of a pedestrian, which is 48 full reduction. How about just the name Jody itself? Jody sums to 1054. This is like the gematria of 7 cubed, 7 times 7 times 7. And if you saw my video on Philando de Val Castile, you would know that he had 1054 gematria. Anyway, now this town is said to be 120 miles southwest of Lexington, Kentucky. Well, first of all, Lexington, when spelled correctly, in English ordinal, sums to 120. Now, this is really interesting because the word eclipse sums to 120 using the reverse alphabetical order. Not only that, but the term solar eclipse equals 190 in that same cipher. And they say that this is 120 miles, 190 kilometers southwest. But this is a pretty sketchy conversion, really, because 120 miles is over 193 kilometers. If you ever wonder why your news is so bad with these numbers, it's because they're not. It's completely intentional, and it's for the gematria. Next, let's look at the name of the victim who is said to have died. This is 23-year-old Mackenzie P. Hayes. Now, I always say reportedly, allegedly, all of these stories rely on the fact that authorities say or police say, as if these institutions can or should be trusted. Now, the name of the deceased was Mackenzie P. Hayes. Why does this middle initial matter? Why is it in the article? Again, it's the gematria. First, notice the 66 and 156. This is the gematria of 33 when written out. This 156 is also found in the gematria of Freemason here in the Hebrew language. So how appropriate is it that the highest degree of Freemasonry is the 33rd? Now, if you're unaware, the 156th prime number is 911. This is a favorite number of the Fraternal Order of Police, which sums to 119 reduced, the inversion of 911. And 911 is the phone number that we're supposed to call to get a hold of them. But how about a closer look here at Mackenzie P. Hayes? Reveals some other interesting numbers. Here it's 69 reverse reduction and 222 reverse ordinal. Well, the word eclipse sums to 69 English ordinal and 222 English extended. Pretty wild that she was killed while watching one, isn't it? Especially considering the name Mackenzie on its own sums to 156 in reverse. Now, the wounded victim in this story is 41-year-old Rhonda Belcher. 41 is the 13th prime number, and as I showed in my video about the Barcelona attack, which was removed from YouTube, but again, it's linked below, 13 is a number extremely significant to the eclipse. When you write out the number 13, it sums to 99, just like the number of years it's been since the last coast-to-coast eclipse. Also, see the 45 in reduction and 117 reverse order? The intersection of the 2017 and 2024 solar eclipses is in the state of Illinois, which also sums to 45, 99, and 117. 13 is a number that goes along with 33. The American flag is consisted of the star, which is 13 reduced, and the stripe, 33 reduced. Our first flag had 13 of both, also 13 colonies. In the square number cipher, the number 13, when written out, has gematria of 1,515. When we write out 33, it also sums to 1515, this time in English extended. So isn't it interesting, Truth Seeker, that this all happened in the town of Hyden, Kentucky, which has trigonal gematria of 1515. The name of the 41-year-old injured was Rhonda Belcher. Rhonda equals 33 in reduction, and Rhonda Belcher sums to 113 using the alphabetic order. 11 and 3, of course, being the factors of 33. 113 also being the number of deception, as seen in words like dishonest, not honest. What about perjury? Something we're familiar with from the courts. Fiction, 113. Disinfo. What about not true? And how about bullshit? I mean, I get my videos removed for not swearing, so I might as well say it, right? Rhonda Belcher, her name has Jewish gematria of 306. And isn't it interesting that we're in 2017, the year? That's the 306th prime number. This article says that she was flown to the University of Kentucky Hospital in Lexington. First off, it's 156 reverse reduction. That's nothing new, but this is more about the 393. This is one of three numbers that, when written out, sums to 1331 in Jewish gematria. And if you don't know about 1331, please see my Introduction to Gematria video linked below, and you'll see how our language, and this Jewish cipher in particular, was structured around this number. 133 and 331, the two three-digit strings that make up this number, also both sum to 1331. Now, 13 times 31 is 403, and this University of Kentucky hospital, in our KFW, the secondary Kabbalah cipher, here it has gematria of 403 as well. The driver who lost control of her vehicle and struck these people was 38-year-old Alyssa Noble. And of course she's 38. When we write this number out, we find that it sums to 1331. Remember the driver of the car who hit the protesters in Charlottesville? His name was James Alex Fields Jr. That sums to 1331 in this cipher as well. Now, Alyssa Noble, however, has trigonal gematria of an upside-down 911, which may be a stretch, but consider that she also has this gematria in Jewish ordinal, 116. Now look at this. I often talk about mistakes in news articles and how these mistakes are almost always intentional, and you should always check the gematria. So when this article says they don't know the condition of Wooten, a name not listed anywhere else in this article, you have to wonder if it's coded, and of course it is. 1190 in Jewish and 930 in English Extended. Remember, numerology, we drop the zeros. This is like 93 and 119. And when we write out Saturn, which they worship, we get 93 English Ordinal, 119 Francis Bacon, which takes capital letters into account. And of course the sun is said to be 93 million miles away. Now the state police captain who confirmed the incident here at the end of this article is named Jennifer Sandlin. And really, why is she even mentioned? All she does is confirm that the pedestrians were watching the eclipse. This information could have come from anyone, including the first trooper that they mentioned earlier in the article. But once again, it's the gematria. Jennifer Sandlin sums to 73 reduction, 154 ordinal, and 251 reverse. I mentioned the 154, but all three of the numbers I just said appear in the gematria of the term ritual sacrifice, 73, 154, 251. Now I also want to quickly glance at this article. It's one of the only ones I could find that wasn't an exact copy-paste from the first. Here, the type of car Noble was driving is mentioned, and it's a Lincoln LS, a 2001 Lincoln LS. Well, Lincoln equals 38 in reverse reduction, as does Lincoln LS in full reduction, but also see how that's 133 in reverse ordinal, and like I just showed you, what happens when we write out 133, it's 1331. Now, if we write out the full name of this car, which is a 2001 Lincoln LS, in reverse, we find another 119 and a 317. Using the prime number cipher, Saturn sums to 317. In Hebrew, the word for Saturn sums to 713, the inverse of 317. But what about this Jewish gematria? 2001 Lincoln LS sums to 1930 in Jewish. Remember, we dropped the zeros. And 193 is the 44th prime number. This is the ordinal gematria of the word kill. And is this a stretch? Well, consider the fact that the first quote in this article, it isn't clear at this time what led to her crashing, sums to 193 in full reduction. So that does it for this video. Remember, I'm not saying this was a hoax. This death could very much be real. But if that's the case, the way in which this woman died needs to be under a great deal of scrutiny, as this story appears to be anything but a random event. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.